evening, everyone. On behalf of Vivekananda Samiti, IIT Kanpur, I welcome you to this 3-day lecture series by our revered Swami Sarvapriyanandaji. We are fortunate to have Swamiji amidst us for the third time. Swamiji came here in 2012 and 14 when he delivered lectures on topics such as Bhagavad Gita for students, Who Am I, based on the Mandukya Upanishad, Message of the Upanishads, which attracted a wide viewership over 1 million on our YouTube channel. We are extremely delighted to welcome him to our campus for the third time. The day-wise topics for this lecture series are Day 1, which is today. We have Happiness, Vedanta and Positive Psychology. Day 2, which is tomorrow, at the same time, 6:15, The Eternal Witness, based on the first chapter of Panchadashi. Now, Panchadashi is an Advaitic text, and in this lecture tomorrow, Swamiji will be talking about the essence of Advaita Vedanta. Day 3, which is Sunday, and the timing is 5:15 p.m. on Sunday, Defining God, based on Taittiriya Upanishad. This lecture would provide us with a unique definition of God with reference to the Taittiriya Upanishad. Before we proceed on to today's lecture, here is a brief account of Vivekananda Samiti, IIT Kanpur. Vivekananda Samiti is one of the oldest clubs under the Students' Gymkhana of IIT Kanpur. Functioning for over 4 decades now, it has been disseminating and actualizing the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, not only on campus but also outside it. We have conducted several activities including community services such as literary camps and health camps for the underprivileged, weekly discussions on Swamiji's life and works, Sanskrit and Vedanta classes, and talks and workshops on various subjects by eminent scholars. Just before the mid-semester recess, with the help of the Ramakrishna Mission Ashram Hospital and Shankara Eye Hospital of Kanpur, we had organized a free medical camp at Ratanpur village, where we served over 110 patients. During the mid-semester break, we organized a 7-day spiritual retreat at Ramakrishna Kutir, Almora, with the help of Swami Narasimhanandaji, the editor of Prabuddha Bharata Advaita Ashram Mayavati. During the retreat, we conducted meditation sessions, discourses on the Bhagavad Gita and practical Vedanta, personal counseling, work and ethics, and nature walks. We also conduct workshops and short-term courses on Sanskrit. We would be starting a 6-month course in Sanskrit called Pravesha from 21st March in association with Sanskrit Bharati. We would be starting a guided meditation session on campus soon. From the end of this month, the Vivekananda Samiti will also start a generic discussion and debate group to discuss various social and academic issues. Now, a brief introduction to our speaker today. Swami Sarvapriyanandaji has been a monastic member of the Ramakrishna Math mission for over 20 years now, since he joined the order in 1994. Swamiji holds a degree in business management from the Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. He has served the Ramakrishna Math mission in various capacities, including being the Vice Principal of the Deoghar Vidyapit Higher Secondary School, Principal of the Shikhan Mandir Teachers Training College at Belur Math, and the first Registrar of the Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda University at Belur Math. At present, he is an Acharya of the Monastic Probationers Training Center at Belur Math. Recently, he has also been ordained Assistant Minister in charge of the Vedanta Society of Southern California, Los Angeles, USA. Swamiji has been a speaker at TEDx IIM Ranchi. Besides premier Indian institutes like the IITs and IISc, he has also delivered lectures on Vedanta extensively across the US, the United States, Australia and New Zealand, including noted universities such as the University of Queensland, University of Sydney, University of Adelaide, Victoria University and University of North Texas. His interests lie in the fields of Indian and Western philosophy, spirituality, psychology, management sciences, and education. So, moving on to today's lecture, a brief introduction, Happiness, Vedanta, and Positive Psychology. Today's lecture is going to be on probably the most sought-after asset of human life, happiness. We generally tend to believe that life comes with only snippets of happiness, but we all have, at some point or the other, realized a simple truth about happiness, that we ought to create happiness in our lives instead of passively waiting for it to come our way. This journey towards happiness can possibly begin with a genuine acceptance of all that comes with being human, of our human condition. Swamiji is going to lead us through relevant aspects in Vedanta and positive psychology in our quest for happiness. I welcome Swamiji.
Namaskar and good evening. It's a pleasure to be back here again. I've had wonderful experiences on 2 earlier occasions I came. We already had a very lengthy introduction, so I will not say anything by the way of introduction, but we'll go straight into the subject. Swami Vivekananda, there's a famous story about him, that once a Maharaja, probably the Maharaja of Khetri, I'm not quite sure, he asked Swami Vivekananda, why did you become a monk, a sannyasi? And Swami Vivekananda, this is not the whole of the story. The story goes that Swami Vivekananda asked him, why do you hunt? Why do you hunt animals? And that Maharaja said, because I like it. And Swami Vivekananda said, likewise, I am a monk because I like it. I've become a sannyasi because I like being a sannyasi. Now you say, what's great about this? This is pretty simple. But actually, when we think about it, it's quite interesting. Why is it interesting? I have asked so many young novices, those who have come to become sannyasis, I'm teaching them now. I'm in Belur Math, the headquarters of our order, where there is a training institution for young people who want to become monks. So I'm teaching there now. And I've often asked them, sometimes asked these young people, why they want to become monks. And the answers I get are, some say I want to realize God, some say I want to know myself, some say I want to find peace, some say, many say that I want to live a life of service, to do good to others, and so many answers. Till now nobody has said, because I like it. If you say that, why don't you, do you like it or not? Of course they'll say, yeah, I like it, that's true. But nobody gives this answer directly. So that's very interesting. And as we go on through positive psychology and Vedanta today, we will find behind this very simple answer a key, a very profound concept which will be of help to us in our day-to-day lives. Positive psychology and Vedanta. Positive psychology is new. It's about 20 years or so old, owes mostly to the work of the first gentleman here, Professor Martin Seligman. And one of the things they focus on is human happiness. Basically, why is it called positive psychology? Professor Seligman says, till very recently, psychology and especially psychiatry were concerned with sick people, people who were suffering, how to make them better. As he put it in a talk, how to take people from -5 to 0. But what about taking people from 0 to +5? You know, like there's medicine which makes sick people better, but there's also sports medicine which makes healthy people faster and stronger. So why not a psychology of human strength? Why just a psychology of human weakness? So that was the idea. And obviously happiness is a central focus, not the only focus of positive psychology, but central focus. Vedanta, which most of you would be aware, is an ancient spiritual philosophy based on the Upanishads, and it has many schools. But Vedanta in itself shares similar goals. If you ask, what is the point of Vedanta? What are you trying to accomplish? They say, Atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda praptischa. Cessation, complete cessation of suffering, transcending suffering, and attainment of ultimate bliss. So attainment of bliss and human happiness, you can see the congruence there immediately. We shall also deal with the work, primarily the work of the second gentleman here, Professor Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, and also incidentally the work of Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And yes, that's how you pronounce it. I have referred to Professor Seligman's work on different occasions. To put it very briefly, what he says is this: human happiness, which is a function of 3 factors, which he calls pleasure, engagement, and meaning. But they are not equal. Pleasure is what we will normally turn to when we want happiness. So you want some positive emotion. So you go to, just now what we did, we went to that canteen and we had a cup of nice coffee. So you eat something nice, you go out with friends, you watch a movie. All of this comes under pleasure. And this is what we normally turn to for happiness. And Professor Seligman says it is a mistake. Why? Because of certain reasons. One reason is it is ephemeral, transient. Every kind of pleasure known to humanity gives you positive emotions for a while. You get it, you drink that cup of coffee, it gives you some amount of positive feeling for a while, and then it's gone. If you take a rasgulla, it spends 10 seconds on your tongue and a lifetime creating problems for you elsewhere. So transience is a factor. And another factor Professor Seligman mentions is its habit forming, in the sense that if it gives you pleasure for some time, and that same thing will not give you pleasure after a while. You need more of that or a different variety of that. So you get satiated very easily. And so many other defects he mentions. Not that pleasure does not give you happiness. Pleasure does give us happiness, but of a low order and very temporary. Seligman says much more happiness is found in the second factor called engagement. Engagement means when you are absorbed in some activity. It may be your studies, it may be a job, it may be a hobby. There's a difference between pleasure and a hobby. In passive pleasure, like you're watching a cricket match on the TV, that's a kind of pleasure. You go out and play cricket, that is engagement. That's one kind of engagement, where you are actively involved in something that challenges you and absorbs you. That may not be pleasurable. A lot of time your work, the study that you're doing is not pleasurable, but it contributes to your happiness. It contributes to your happiness. In fact, I read about an experiment conducted way back in 1930 in schools in America. The old problem, children want to have fun and we are forcing them to study. So this experiment was done on 600 school students in different parts of America in 1930. And the experiment was very funny. The students, if they behaved well, they would be rewarded with more homework, more work. They have to stay in class and do work. If they behaved, if they were naughty, if they were unruly, they would be allowed to go out and play. You can go out and play. And the amazing thing was, first 1 or 2 days, kids will be kids. So they all wanted to go out and play. Within 2 to 3 days, almost all of the kids didn't want to go out and play. They wanted to do something, whether drawing or mathematics or something, their favorite subjects. They became very, fidgety, unhappy when they were asked to go out and play. Now that shows something very interesting, that engagement, we need some kind of engagement. We need some kind of challenge in our lives. There was this story of a person who was, after death, a criminal. So after death, this angel comes and takes him and throws him in this place. A nice house somewhere. He imagines that this is heaven. Somehow I've come to heaven by mistake. They've sent me to heaven. And he says, this place, whatever you want, all your wishes will be satisfied immediately. And he's delighted. And he asks for money and so many things, all kinds of pleasures, gadgets or whatever. And everything appears immediately. After a few days, he feels a bit frustrated. He says, you give me something to do. And the angel appears before him and says that, that's the only problem here. Whatever you want will be given to you, except only one problem, you will not be given any work. And as the days go by, this man, he can't take it anymore. And he begs the angel, send me to hell. I don't like this heaven. And the angel smiles and says, this is hell. This is hell. Which those little children discovered. After 3-4 days when the teacher is not saying anything, just go and play. This is hell. This is not pleasure. So engagement gives a lot of happiness. In fact, more happiness than pleasure. Because the children were offered a choice between engagement and pleasure. At first they took pleasure. After very soon they wanted some kind of engagement. Then Seligman says, even more than engagement. So a career, studies which you like, they'll give you happiness. Though always it may not give you happiness. Sometimes if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it will not give you happiness. It will create a lot of unhappiness. More than this, Much more happiness comes from what Seligman terms meaning. Usually meaning in life is, if you have found a purpose in life, which is, one characteristic is, it's bigger than the self. Usually pleasure is all about myself. Engagement is more or less about myself, though I interact with others. But I am absorbed and challenged. Whereas meaning is usually about others. It may not be other human beings, it may simply be for the sake of science, for example. A scientist, an artist, a writer finds meaning in art or science. The person of religion finds meaning in fact, religion is a great way of getting meaning in life. So meaning gives much more happiness than pleasure and engagement. Though most people do not have that kind of meaning in their life, most people are searching for meaning in their lives. So meaning gives much more happiness than pleasure and engagement. And what Seligman recommends is, we should try to have that meaning and engagement component as much as possible for lasting satisfaction with our lives. Now let's go ahead. Today, I've talked about this on different occasions, but today I want to problematize this. I want to see that there's a problem with this. As we go ahead, we'll see. Before we go ahead, let me just mention, in Vedanta, the way we look at human goals, what people want in life. Goals not in the sense of what we should want. It's what we really want. Just ask anybody, ask yourself, ask anybody, what do we want in life? And you'll find it comes under these four: Kama, Artha, Dharma, or Moksha. These are words which are familiar to most Indians. We often use them, in this order: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We normally never say Kama, Artha, Dharma, Moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We use it. And we say these are Purusharthas. But normally we don't think much about it. There's a wrong understanding that these are goals set forth by scriptures for human beings, that we should pursue this. It is not a question of should pursue this. This is just a list of things which people want. Now, you will immediately see how beautifully it maps onto Seligman's equation. Kama, as you know, is pleasure, is desire. Kama is desire for pleasure. And you can see Kama immediately matches the pleasure, the P component. Artha, it's a bit of a stretch. Artha literally means wealth, power, achievement, status, all the things which we want in life, possessions, for example. And to get that, we need this, what we have, an engagement in life. So somehow you can match it with engagement. To a great extent, actually, you can match it with engagement. People are the thing which engages people. If you look at your lives, especially the older people here, in a week, the past week, if you look back, how much of it was spent in pleasure? Very little. Most of it was spent in some kind of engagement, either in your in the institute here or back at home, somewhere. You are working. You are working most of the time. So engagement or artha is another thing which we seek. Dharma is a term which means religion, morality. If you open the Sanskrit dictionary, you'll have a whole page of meanings. But I have sort of mapped it onto meaning in life. Dharma is doing something for others, being religious or being moral, being of service to others. So that's there. But the last part, spirituality, that's something that is not included here. I suspect if you ask Professor Seligman, he will try to map it or include it within meaning. He'll probably try to include it within meaning. But what is the problem with this? The problem is this: way we look at doing good to others, being of service, or religion, or any kind of meaning-producing activity, is that it is not pleasurable. And we won't say it outright, but the point is that it is, it requires me to sacrifice, forego some of the good things of life right now. Maybe it will do some good later on in life, but right now, I can relax and watch TV or play video games, and now you want me to go out and work in that eye hospital or something for poor people there. I know that's great, but it's asking me to forgo something. You want me to donate money for a good cause. Now I can use that money to buy the latest iPhone or something, and I know it will be of more use to poor people. Now see, it's always a trade-off between present pleasure versus future benefit. I know I might feel good later on, but right now, you get it. This always, the problem is there. People will not say it outright, but if you ask them to do something very moral, very good, very meaningful, there's a little hesitation. And hesitation is because of this. Why I have put the German philosopher Kant's picture here is, he put it very clearly. He said, what is moral? What is moral action? Moral action, he said, is something that is done only for duty. If you do it because you like it, then it's not moral. You're doing it because you like it. You're not doing it out of duty. If you do something which you like, and so that you are doing for your own pleasure, for your own happiness, that is not morality, that's not duty. Morality flows from duty. So he connects the category of morality with duty. If something that is done on the basis of duty is moral. That's his point of view, but he clearly sort of states the problem. If you state it in that way, immediately you see there is a big clash between the morality of duty versus pleasure. You see, if you go back to the equation, you will see what happens is pleasure and meaning, they seem to be pulling in different directions. So it's as if for getting a meaningful life, you have to give up the pleasures. And actually when you see people, Gandhiji, he seems to have given up most pleasures. So in life, and he has got a very meaningful life, or Mother Teresa, or Swami Vivekananda. So they have got very meaningful lives, but they're not having fun. So it somehow puts off people. This is the problem. And this is where this gentleman comes in. I discovered him recently. He's the most popular lecturer in the highest rated university in the world. So there's some Times rating was published recently. And I think Harvard University, they put it on the top. They usually do. But there, this gentleman, very unassuming person, if you see his YouTube lectures, he's a very quiet sort of person. He teaches psychology there. And his course, he started off with, he says, 6 students. And 2 of them dropped out. So, and from there, today he gets 1,400 students per semester, way beyond any course in Harvard University. In fact, 20% of all the students of all the branches in Harvard University, 20% of all the students, they will take his course. And they have to hire, I heard, halls, big halls to conduct the class, obviously, if you see so many students. Now, what I've put there is an oversimplification. I don't know if you like that. But basically what he's saying is, see, this whole idea of success will lead to happiness. He says this is the root of the problem. And that's why actually I put it this way, because here I am speaking to a group of people who are all type A's. Almost all of you are go-getters. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. So these people, such people, they define success as leading to happiness. Now he says basically what he's doing is he reverses it. He says happiness is success. Happiness is success. And how does he do that? Well, it's a very, Americans have a way of putting profound things in a very simple way. I mean, if you see this, don't be misled by the examples which he uses. That is saying something superficial. Actually saying something very interesting with regard to the problem which I put forward, meaning versus pleasure. What he is saying is, he was training for a tennis tournament, a squash tournament, and he put himself on a health food diet with the promise that after the tournament is over, he will indulge himself and buy his favorite junk food and treat himself to the junk food. And so what he did was, after the tournament was over, he went to the McDonald's and he ordered a whole tray full of whatever junk food, very heavy oily stuff. And he, with great joy, he carried it to the table and he sat down, and then he looked at it and he said, I had no desire for it at all. And he said, because he's a psychologist, he was puzzled by this. He said, I wanted this. Now I don't want it. I was dreaming about it when I was training so hard for 1 month. I was dreaming about this, that I will one day, just after this is over, really indulge myself. Now when it's in front of me, I don't want it. Then he thought, why? And immediately he got the answer. The answer is the health food which he had been taking for over a month. He said, because of that, I found the benefit. I feel energetic, I feel light, I feel nice. And I know the moment I eat this, I'll feel heavy and uneasy, and I have to take antacids or whatever. And now I've gotten used to that. I don't want to give that up. That's healthy and tasty. And then he sort of generated this thing. He said, basically our approach to life has these 4 possibilities. And we can immediately see which option we have taken up. And we are predominantly one or the other, but at different times in our life, we go through all of these 4. What are they? If you go to the second quadrant up there, to the right, hedonism, where, like junk food, which is very tasty now, but unhealthy in the long run, or in the very short run also. So, and he says, those who go in for present pleasure. I've got this assignment, I'll do it later. Let me play computer games. So I push it back. I have got this deadline to meet. I'll work in the last, the examination is there, so I'll do an all-night, do you still call it all-nighters? So, night out. So I'll do that before the examination. 2 or 3 days, I ought to be able to manage it, instead of working now. So, hedonism, pleasure-oriented. You go for present benefit and future detriment. Future detriment, present benefit. Let me have my shot of pleasure right now. The opposite is something which many people here would identify with, is future benefit but present detriment. In the sense that, like health food, it's not tasty. I remember I was sitting having food with some monks, and there was something from a different country, a health food, something that a bottle of something, some kind of food, biscuits or something, and he said it's healthy and it's got these vitamins and everything. And then one Swami said, what it means, it's not tasty. So often it's like that. And these people, they say that, okay, let me work very hard for my joint entrance examination, I'll crack it, then I'll relax. But once you crack that and you come to IIT Kanpur, as you know, not much chance of relaxation at all. You are barely able to keep your nose above the water, this assignment, that examination, these results, and so on, just somehow struggling to stay afloat. Don't think it's going to change the moment you get a big fat salary packet, you complete your PhD or your MTech or your BTech and go and take a big job. It's not like that. We're going to give you a big fat salary package, they're going to get everything out of you also. So there also, it'll go on like that. There you're saying that maybe when I reach that level, it'll get better. I'll be very relaxed and I'll enjoy myself. So you go from one goal to another goal, all in the future, and you get those benefits. But this is important, at no point in time are you happy. Not before, not now, and as you see plot the points of time, you're expecting a future happiness. The idea of it will arrive, the arriving model. I will arrive at happiness. So that's the rat race. The problem with the rat race is even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. And the first quadrant is the worst, and there are so many people there. A nihilist, where like stale food, it tastes bad and it's unhealthy. In the same way, there are people who are unhappy at present and they have no particular goal they're working towards. A large number of people, it happens often at mid-career. Young people here won't understand that because you've got something to look forward to. But at mid-career or middle age, it suddenly happens that I'm not happy and I also realize nothing very great is going to happen in my life anymore. And then you feel, today is not good and tomorrow looks worse. So that is the nihilist position. And many people come to this. Seligman calls it a kind of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness, there was an experiment they conducted where they put rats. One group of rats was given electric shocks, mild shocks, so don't feel bad for the rats, but it must have hurt because they had a little lever which they could press and the shocks would shut off. And another group was given random shocks with no lever. There's nothing that they could do to stop the shocks. Later on, when the groups were mixed and put in another cage where they were given shocks and the lever was there, or some other, or there was the cage walls where the barriers were open, so they could jump out. The first group, which knew that they could overcome the pain of the shocks, they found out that and they jumped out. And the rats in the second group, though they could have jumped out, they did not. They just stayed there shivering and suffering. So this nihilist group, it's a kind that who have given up hope. There's no happiness in the future, and obviously there's no happiness now. And you'd say, why would anybody want to be there? Nobody wants to be there, but many people do end up being there. And it's good that we can focus on that and see that we don't end up being there. And when we do get that kind of feeling, we should pull ourselves out of it. The third one, the last quadrant, fourth quadrant, that's the purpose of this whole exercise. What Ben-Shahar says, he says that both of these, all of these, the nihilist and the rat racer and the hedonist, all of them have a conceptual mistake. The mistake, what is the mistake? He says one day a young student in Harvard University, she came to him and said, look, I have attended your course, but my question remains. Is it better to be happy now or happy in the future? And Ben-Shahar said, that very question illustrates the problem. The right question to ask is, how can I be happy now and in the future? How can I be happy now and in the future? In Vedanta, we talk about three qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Tamas is the quality of darkness, heaviness, laziness, inertia. Rajas is the quality of dynamism, desire, activity. Sattva is the quality of lightness, of peace, of serenity, of calm activity. Now, if you put this sattva, rajas, tamas here, you will find the nihilist will immediately fit into the tamas model. In Bhagavad Gita, description of sukha, happiness of a tamasic person. It says the happiness of a tamasic person is, that person is prone to laziness, to depression, to darkness in life. So that is the nihilistic model. The hedonistic model would come somewhere between the hedonistic model and the rat racer, would come somewhere in the rajasic category, where I want pleasure. If there's a little bit of self-control, okay, I want more pleasure in the future, I'll sacrifice my present happiness and work hard towards that. So it becomes a rat racer. If there's less self-control, but I want that pleasure, he goes for immediate benefit, but sacrifices future benefits. Whereas happiness model would correspond to the sattvic person. The sattvic person knows what is good for himself or herself and for others, what is good now and in the future, and has managed to get the habit of, as Ben-Shahar did, of health food. Enjoys that health food. Enjoys that health food, not in the sense that it will make me happy later. I am happy right now. I feel good. I remember there was a Swami in Deoghar, in the Ramakrishna mission where I joined, and every day he would take this glass of some green, like sharbat, and none of the others got it. And one of the little kids was curious and said, looks delicious, and only the Swami, head Swami gets it, nobody else gets it. And so he would stare at it, and he was in class 5 or 6, 10 years old. And the Swami one day said in Bengali, Khabi, tui khabi, do you want it? He said, yes, and took a little sip. It was neem juice, so he made a face like this and he ran away. Now that it's extremely bitter, but that Swami enjoys it. And the little kid saw the expression in the Swami's face and thought it must be very delicious. But you can get to enjoy that which is good for you. Come to the point of helping others, meaning in life. So the idea is I help others because I like it, not because I feel I should. I'm part of this Vivekananda Samiti. I'm part of this club or that club because I enjoy it, not because I feel it's good for me or I should do it. There's another reason also. This Ben-Shahar pointed it out. I have seen over the years how the biodata of the students is getting, the fonts are getting smaller and more information is being packed in. This activity, that activity, this social work, that. Why are they doing it? So that they can put it in the biodata actually. Actually they're doing it. And it seems there are companies in USA which will offer students this. I'll give you a package which you can have a beautiful resume. It's not false, it's true. But it will be designed for so that you can take those activities and put it in your biodata. But that's like, I'm doing it because I should, it looks good, but not because I like it. Professor Seligman once in his class, what he did was, one day he said, we won't have a class today. We'll all go to the movies. So students were happy, they went out to the movies. When they came back, he said, all you just fill up this questionnaire. And it's very simple. Rate the happiness you got from this movie from 1 to 5. 1, no happiness, 5, a lot of happiness. And they gave some rating, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Next week, again he said, today we won't have a class. Today we are going out to the east side of town where there are these poor kids and we have collected clothes and toys and everything. We'll spend the afternoon with those kids, make friends with them and distribute these gifts. And the students went out and did that. When they came back, Professor Seligman said, you fill out this form, what happiness did you get from it? Again, 1 to 5. Some people give 3, 4, 5, whatever. An interesting thing happened 6 months later. Suddenly in the class, he had never mentioned it earlier. Suddenly in the class he came and he said, here are questionnaires. Think back to those 6 months ago you saw a movie. How much happiness does it give you now, 6 months later? Rate it 1 to 5. And they rated it. Some of them couldn't remember the name of the movie. And most of them said, okay, we were happy, maybe 1, maybe 2. Nothing now, nothing now. And you went out and made friends with those kids and you gave gifts to them. How much happiness does it give you now? 1 to 5. And all of them gave just about the same rating they had given on the first day itself. 4 or 5. Showing therefore that when you do something for others, when you really done something for others, expanded beyond the self, though you are giving your time, maybe your money, maybe gifts to others, you are not getting it yourself, you are giving it, and yet that gives you happiness. And it was such a powerful demonstration for the students that yes, 6 months later we are still very happy, we did that. You know, when you have, it's like, it's a change in attitude which takes place. You have 100 rupees and it means that it can mean either of two things. I have 100 rupees, so this much I have, if I give something to others, it will be less for me. That's one attitude. The other attitude is, this 100 rupees is my power to give to others. Now it enables me to do something. I read this story about one person had written, Reader's Digest somewhere. He said in our village in the United States, we had this thing, and the church would go and take collections for the poorest family in the village. And we were not too well to do, but my mother told us, all the children, that you will not spend your pocket money this month, save it so that we can give it in the church for the poorest family. And so when we were waiting that day on the church, we were very eager. He said, all my brothers and sisters, we had all taken our money and we were waiting to donate it. And the father, he announced that, so we have collected so much money, and he came and gave it to my mother. And that's the day I was shocked to realize, I never thought that we were poor. So they were the poorest family, but the children had been brought up with an attitude that whatever you have is a power which you can use for others, and that gives you happiness. Obviously, when you help others, you feel happier. When you feel happier, you feel inclined to help others. Unhappy person is less likely to be benevolent. And that's Emerson there. He said this wonderful thing. It's one of the most beautiful compensations of this life, that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. If you really try to help another, you help yourself in the sense, at least in this sense, that you are happier. You feel better immediately. Another point, we'll bring in Csikszentmihalyi's work here. He also worked in the general area of happiness. His work was, when are people the happiest? When are people the happiest in their lives? And he studied what are called peak experiences. First he studied sportsmen. If you play any game, tennis or anything, sometimes you play a very good game. You know it from within. Everything is going beautifully. Many of you are doing research. In fact, this flow experience is very common in research. Sometimes you're so absorbed in it, hours just flow past. And you just love it. A surgeon who performed a brain operation for several hours, he was asked, how can you stand there and do such intricate work for 6-7 hours. Some of those operations take such a long time. And the surgeon said that, I don't feel it. I don't know that 7 hours have passed. So these are called peak experiences, or he calls them flow experiences. Why he calls them flow experiences is that he used to interview people from different walks of life. Once he interviewed a music conductor. In classical Western music, they conduct music like this. And the conductor said that sometimes when I'm conducting an orchestra, I'm moving my hands and I'm just watching my hands and the music just flows. He used the word flows. So he used the word flow for this kind of experience. How does that experience happen? We have all experienced it. And we are very happy in that experience. During that and afterwards also. So he says that flow happens when you have this. It's a function of challenge and ability. You have got certain skills. So, for example, remember when you were taking your examination, entrance examination for this institute, whatever it was. You had prepared and built up your skills. And the question paper was challenging. If there was a match between the question paper and your skills, you would find it's happening. The question paper is pushing you to the limit, but you are able to do it. When you are pushed to the limit, but you are able to do it also, you can see a peculiar kind of joy comes. There is no cognitive capacity left over for thinking anything else because the work at hand is very challenging. And what is there, you can do it immediately. If the challenge is too much, it leads to stress, anxiety, fear. If the challenge is too little, it leads to boredom. You have nothing to do, bored, unhappy. If it's too much, sometimes you find in these elite institutes, sometimes many students say that the workload is too much, pressure is too much. So it leads to stress, again unhappy. Now he says, what do you do? If it is too much, then you parse out your work, simplify your work, reduce the challenge, and find out methods of building up your skills. So that you can meet the challenge, you can get back into the flow channel. If you don't have enough challenge, increase the challenge. So sometimes students come and ask, school students mostly, Swamiji, we feel so bored when you are reading. I can stare at the page for half an hour, and then if you ask me what you read, I don't know. My mind has gone all over the world, but I can't tell you what I read there. What has happened is, only a part of its cognitive capacity is on the page, which he is reading. And the rest is thinking about so many other things, because that is not challenging enough to draw the entire capacity. See, when you are driving, or when you are playing a game, tennis or badminton or something, the opponent is in front of you. He is serving and you have to return. So all your attention is there. You cannot do anything else. And flow happens automatically. So what I tell the students is, see, you are in this zone. That's why your mind is wandering. Mind is wandering because there isn't enough challenge. Now you have to consciously increase the challenge. How do you do that? Well, very easy way is active reading. Instead of just looking at the book, you have a notebook. If it's your own book, you have a pen, underline, take notes. I've seen books of Swami Ranganathanandaji, who was the president of the Ramakrishna Mission several years back. He donated all his books to our library where I am now. And all of those books, which he read over a period of 70 to 80 years, all of those books have lot of underlining, lot of annotations, questions, agreements, disagreements, facts added to it. Whenever that Swami was reading, he was actively engaged. He was with the book, fighting with the book, agreeing with the book, disagreeing with the book. Where he cannot understand, there are question marks there. All of the books are like that. And that Swami, when he passed away at the age of 97, and at that age he was reading 10 to 12 hours a day. I remember one of his sevaks, one of the Swamis who used to attend to it, he was the president of the Ramakrishna Mission. So this Swami told me, one day Swami Ranganathanji asked me to read out a new book. So I read it out to him over a period of a week, every day 2 or 3 hours. When it was finished, I folded the book, and that Swami said, give that book to me. And this Swami said, Maharajji, I already read it out to you, I read it out to you. And he replied, that was for you, this is for me. I made you read it, otherwise you won't read it. This is for me. Now active reading, that increases the challenge. When you are writing, when you are responding to it, then it comes here. Another way of increasing the challenge is seeking. Curiosity is a powerful force. Often we read, the students I was telling them, you read and then you solve the questions at the end of the chapter or whatever. But the much better way is to go to the questions first and then read. So when you have the questions in mind, you are seeking answers, not just reading material which has been present. When you're seeking answers, you are engaging one of the most powerful forces known to humanity, and that's curiosity. We have all seen, a baby crying. Nothing will console the baby. The mother comes and puts some toy in front of the baby like this. At least for a few seconds, the baby forgets to cry and looks at the toy. Curiosity, extremely powerful force, and education often kills it. That's why people love research, at this level, many of you are engaged in research. Research again rekindles the power of curiosity. What you are now again searching for something, you're trying to find something out. Now, why I brought this at this point is helping others. A very interesting experiment was performed in Stanford. They have a theological, I'm forgetting, it's one of the top American Ivy League colleges. They have a theological school there, where you study Bible and everything. So some of these theological students, an experiment was performed on them in a hall like this. They were asked to read the parable of the Good Samaritan. And do you know how the parable goes? That there was a sick person lying on the ground, and one man passed by without helping, and another man who was not from that area, was a Samaritan from a distant land, and this Samaritan passed by that person who was sick, helped that person, nursed that person, and made arrangements for nursing and everything, and then went. Now, who is, Jesus Christ asked, who is a good neighbor? Our man who did not help, or the person who has come from a different land, Samaritan, who actually was a good neighbor to that sick person. So that's the parable of the Good Samaritan, one who helps others. Now they read this and they were asked to prepare a lecture on this. And they were told, in the next hall across the lawn, there is an audience, you go and give a lecture on Good Samaritan. And they, one by one, they were asked to go. When this person would go across the lawn to the next hall, on a bench in the middle of the lawn, there would be a person who would be sitting like this, as if he has a stomach ache, Oh, like this he'll be doing. Acting. And they were watching what this person would do. And they found many of them did not stop. They're going to give a lecture about helping others, Good Samaritan. They just walked past. And some of them did stop, a few of them. And then it began to see, what is the difference? The difference is this. If a person is and when they went to the hall, there was nobody there. The experimenter said, the experiment is over, you can go. Now, the difference was this. Only one thing, not the parable of the Good Samaritan. It was who was paying attention and who was not paying attention. The moment you pay attention to the suffering of another person, most of us will feel sympathy. And they say, even now there's neuroscience of that sympathy. They say there's some mirror neurons or something, and there's a neural correlate to the feeling of sympathy. But that requires attention. Maybe that's why you see in communities which are close-knit, in a village or a small town where family members or community members live together, we always say, the people used to take care of each other. But in modern cities, when you're living in apartments, nobody takes care of others. What happens in modern cities is people do not have that relationship, and people are busy. People are so pressed from early morning till night. You have to commute to work and you'll be busy, you come back again. You hardly see each other. There's no time to give attention to another person. There was some video of a person in a subway in USA, sick on the ground, and thousands of people rushing to catch the train. Nobody is looking at that person. Until one person stopped, then they all looked around and people rushed to help. So people did not notice, number one. When they noticed and tried to help, many people did try to help. So attention and helping others are positively correlated. That's what Csikszentmihalyi Mihai says. Now, attention is very important to happiness. What you pay attention to, that gives happiness, and especially helping others requires attention. Therefore, more than moral science lessons, what children need or students need is an example and the scope of paying attention to the suffering of others. Most young people, if you see a person suffering, they would want to help immediately. This person might be familiar to you. He had come here a few I think last year, Vinayak Lohani, last year probably. I saw, he had come here and given a talk here in Vivekananda Samiti. Very interesting. He's also an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and from IIM Calcutta. And what he did was, after completing his IIM degree, instead of going in for a multinational job, what he did was he got 3 kids from the streets, orphans, and he started taking care of them. Now this organization which he has got, Parivar, they have 800 children. And this gentleman got the President's Award for Child Welfare last year. And so much more work he has done. Now why I am bringing him here is for 2 reasons. One is, in one meeting where we were all present, some of the students asked him, how did you decide to do this, help others, especially children? And his answers was very interesting. You see, finding meaning in life, that I want to do something which is meaningful and I like it also. This is what Ben-Shahar is saying. Now the only problem with that is, it's a very good idea, but right now if we ask ourselves, most of us, we cannot directly say what we really like and what we want to do. It sounds good, but I don't know yet. How can I find it out? What is really meaningful for me and will make me happy? Now look at the method he adopted. That's very interesting. He said, well, his answers, he's a very deep thinker, and his answers are startling, like most deep thinkers. He said, I never tried to find out what I want in life. I had the same problem as most young people have, that we don't know what we want in life. So what I started doing was what I don't want in life. I started making a list. Do I want this kind of a job? No. Do I want to do this work of this gentleman, or that kind of a corporate job, or this kind of an academic job? No, no, no. And in that process, something opened up within him when he felt that I would like to help children. That came up from within, while he was trying to rule out what he does not like. What you don't like will come up. If you try to make a list, it will come up immediately. You start considering, do I like this? It will say no, or yes. But mostly it will say no, and though that your mind will tell you no, and you have to cross it out. That's one point, very interesting, of discovering what is meaningful and you will like it also. That's a negative way, a very Vedantic way, I would say, neti neti, not this, not this. And the second thing he said, again his own idea, and look how it matches with Ben-Shahar's idea. He says, somebody asked him a question, you are very successful. What you wanted to do, you have done in life, and people are appreciating you for it. You are also happy, you say you are very happy and all that. But supposing you had not succeeded, there are so many NGOs in this country. Many of them are not doing well. Many of them are not doing well. Instead of 800 kids, if you had 8 kids taking care of 8 kids, and that was the sum and substance of your achievement, how would you feel? And what he said was, I make a distinction, his words, between intrinsic motivation and milestone motivation. So my idea was then 50 kids, and then 100 kids, then a school, then a hostel and things like that. And that's how I've been moving. These are milestones. One by one, as I do that, I feel good. But more important than that, I have what is called intrinsic motivation. I know this is right, I know this is good, and I know I like it. I love doing this. If I had not succeeded at all, I started with 3 kids, and those only, I had helped those 3 only. And you know how he started? He just picked them up the street without any plan. He rented an apartment. He used to give, because he had an IIM and IIT background, tuition. And hundreds of boys and girls would line up for tuition from him. And he earned money that way, and he would support them. I asked him, Vinayakji, 3 kids. You could do tuition and get money for 3 kids. You have 800 children now. How do you, tuition is not enough. He told me, you know what he said? Now I don't do anything. I don't do anything. Money comes. I don't ask also. Now, if that only 3 kids, if he had only 3 kids whom he helped, he said that intrinsic motivation is there within me, I would still be satisfied, even if the milestones I did not reach. Now see, something that gives me happiness now and also happiness in the future. Something that is helpful for others, and I like it also. Because I like it, whether I achieve something in the future or not, it's not important. If I achieve, very good. I like that also. I have achieved from this level to that level and so on. So both have to be there. Both have to be there. Now, come back to the story with which we started. Think about this. You become a monk or any other high thing in life because I want to realize God. Suppose you don't realize God. Because I want to get enlightenment, nirvana. Suppose you don't get nirvana. One Swami asked a newcomer, what do you want? I want moksha. Suppose I can give you guaranteed with, and you will believe it also, ISO 9000 chap, you will not get moksha in this life. Then what will you do? Will you still be a monk? Now you can see. Being a monk is a very high ideal. Just imagine what are the answers he could have given. If you didn't know this answer, just imagine. Why did Swami Vivekananda become a sannyasi? He could have said, for what he went to Sri Ramakrishna, I want to see God. Have you seen God? To see God, he didn't say that. To awaken the nation, India, from its suffering and misery, he didn't say that. To go to the West and preach Vedanta, which he did, he didn't say that. 150 years later, in the West, now 150th anniversary was celebrated. I saw even now he is, there was an article in New York Times, and I met the journalist who had written it. So they understand, when they research the whole idea of Eastern spirituality in America, all of it leads back to Swami Vivekananda. The Chicago Parliament of Religions. I went to Chicago a couple of months ago, and I went to that Art Institute where he delivered that famous lecture on September 11, 1893. And the street in front of that Art Institute is called Honorary Swami Vivekananda Way. I went in there, they have a plaque commemorating that. And the hall is still there, truncated, the stage on which he spoke. And it's a heritage hall, so it's mostly under lock and key. But the moment they see this, they open it. They know that some strange fellows will be wearing this gerua will come and they will want to see that hall only. They have got paintings by Renoir and Monet and so many, top paintings of the best artists in the world. But these strange fellows will make a beeline to that hall, old hall. They want to see that. Did he say, I want to preach Vedanta to the West, that's why I become a sannyasi? None of that. He said to that Maharaja, I am a sannyasi because I like it. All of that happened. That was the goal. And that happened. But his answer, I am doing something wonderful and great, not because of what's going to come at the end, but because I like it. So this is how I am relating Swami Vivekananda's answer to Tal Ben-Shahar's work. Just a short note on some differences between the Vedantic approach and positive psychology. More I was reading positive psychology, I was thinking about Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga. The difference, one central difference I found was Karma Yoga says that unselfishness will make you happy, just like what we saw here. But it says unselfish service of God in humanity. Shiva Jnani Jiva Seva. That thing is introduced. Something transcendental is introduced. You see, positive psychology never talks about God, Atman, spirituality, moksha, none of that. It's all secular. If you go to Bhakti Yoga, love will make you happy, but very clearly, love of God. Again, that is introduced. Dhyana Yoga, concentration, flow, Chigzan concentration will make you happy, but concentration on the Atman or God. Again, that is introduced. The transcendental aspect is introduced. In fact, Chigzan Mihai in his book Flow, there are 2 pages where he says, I have scanned, I've gone through the literature, ancient and modern literature of the world, looking for these flow experiences. And I can say that the most sophisticated method of obtaining flow experience is the ancient Indian method of Patanjali Yoga. In his book he says, 2 pages he devotes to it. He says this is as if those ancients very well understood this concept of flow and they designed a systematic method to attain flow. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So 8 steps. And he says all of them I can relate directly to flow. But that is for spiritual realization. And finally, Jnana Yoga, the discrimination between what is real and unreal, the path of knowledge, again very clearly you have to concentrate on Brahman or Atman there. So all the yogas, they have a strong transcendental factor there, not just secular. I'm just putting it forward to you. And okay, very briefly, happiness also in Vedanta depends on karma. Karma in the sense of causality. The belief is in Hinduism, in the Indic religion especially, Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism, that and Sikhism also, that what is happening to us now, good and bad, is a result of something in our past. And what we do now will generate good or bad results in the future. Swami Vivekananda put it beautifully. Good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. But whosoever wears a form must wear the chain too. And of course he said something beyond that, but that takes us beyond today's subject. What is beyond this law of causality? That is tomorrow's subject. So the law of karma says, you do good, the result is happiness. You do what is bad, the result is sorrow. If I am unhappy, it's something I am responsible for it somehow. I don't know how. If I want to be happy, then I must do good, especially good to others. I'll stop here and take questions. I've run out of time also. Questions? Happiness, positive psychology, Vedanta. Yes? In law of karma, what I just mentioned, they have a very clear definition. The law of karma says dharma leads to something called punya, punya leads to sukha. Adharma leads to papa, papa leads to dukkha. Now dharma and adharma can be defined in many ways. One is a strict scriptural definition. So there what is said in the scripture is good, what is prohibited in the scripture is bad. Again, there might be a much more humanitarian definition. Vyasa says, what you do for the happiness of others is dharma. What causes misery to others, parapidanam, is adharma or papa. So that you can interpret in a humanitarian positive way, or you can give a very strict scriptural interpretation also to what is good and bad. If you the terms used are dharma and adharma.
External factor, is happiness independent of external factor? Like Seligman didn't mention it.
External factors. There is a lot of study in this in positive psychology and in Vedanta also. In positive psychology, they say one thing they have found out is that we all know this, but they have actually shown it through studies. Wealth has very little correlation with happiness. Amazingly enough, once the basics are satisfied, health, education, good nutrition, a shelter, and things like that, society. Beyond that, large increments in wealth brings only a flash of happiness, and again, the level of happiness is the same for those at lower income levels also. They have actually done studies with questionnaires, and they found that external factors, especially wealth, has little impact. Another thing, health and illness. You would think that a healthy person will be happier and ill person will be unhappy, sick person will be unhappy. Only temporarily. They found even in the case of a quadriplegic person confined to the wheelchair, unhappy at the beginning, when the deterioration takes place, miserable, depressed, if that person survives and can manage his or her life over the period of 3 to 4, 5 years, again the level of happiness comes back to a median. I saw in one of my lectures, I was in Houston at that time, I saw this lady who would come in just like a chair, like Stephen Hawking sits. So this lady was completely paralyzed, and that motorized chair, she would come in and she would listen to the lecture, and you can hear the breathing apparatus which is helping her to breathe, and then she would go out and somebody would help her into the car. I heard later she has completed, she was normal till 14 years of age, and then she had a degenerative disease, exactly the same disease which Stephen Hawking has, and after that she completed her PhD. Then she is assistant to some big politician in Texas. Now a full life, and she is interested in Indian philosophy also. She comes to classes. Now you can see, we would be horrified to think of such a disability. But people are, take the example of Stephen Hawking, happy. I mean, I hope so. Yes. So like two big factors like wealth, like, yeah, you can give him the mic, like wealth, like illness. you can see they have only a nominal effect on happiness. Yes, a question.
Sir, am I not supposed to be the observer of happiness and sadness? So how can engagement in helping others bring me happiness?
Right. Now, observer, you are going on to tomorrow's subject. That Mandukya Upanishad, yes. Vedanta, that is the subject of Vedanta anyway. Yes. But I will talk about that more later. That has to be clearly understood. Witness of the happiness in my mind, the witness of the unhappiness in my mind. If you can do that, that's one step further. That's why I was saying Vedanta has a transcendental aspect which is not there in positive psychology, where you transcend the happiness, the positive emotion which is called happiness here. You are no longer very bothered by that. So that's later. But even in Vedanta, when a person attains to that level, that person actually feels like helping others. A person who has gone to that level or who strongly believes in that philosophy will also feel like helping others, no longer for his own happiness, his or her own happiness. It becomes second nature to such a person, because that person is no longer living for himself or herself. The purpose in life becomes to help others. Not all of them will do that. There are two attitudes to this. One attitude might be that person will retire and be a hermit, something like Raman Maharshi. Although Raman Maharshi and others, they also helped so many people. Swami Vivekananda said, even if such a person goes and sits in a Himalayan cave, the thoughts that person thinks will not die. They will go out and help the world. He says that. But many of these persons are actively involved in helping others. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, O Arjuna, I have nothing to attain in the three worlds, yet not for a moment do I cease to work. Nothing personal to attain there. I remember one Swami in Himalayas told me personally, 3 sentences, I'll share this with you, but it's more appropriate in the context of Vedanta than in positive psychology. I'll tell you in Hindi and then translate for you. But it requires a full understanding, battery of Vedanta to understand what he said. He summed it up. He said, he was a very highly regarded monk in Uttarakhand. He said, Swarup apne jagah theek hai. I won't explain. First let me try and tell you what he said. Swarup apne jagah theek hai. तब इस शरीर मन का क्या करना, ईश्वर का है, ईश्वर को समर्पण कर दो और देखो अहंकार ना हो. Briefly speaking, what he said was, your true nature, what you are really, you're perfect, your existence, consciousness, bliss. Whether you know it or not, whether you agree or not, right now you are that. Advaita Vedanta tries to show you how you are that. And that's what we'll try to see tomorrow and day after. There'll be full Vedantic classes. Positive psychology will be kept outside the door tomorrow. So how are you perfect right now? How are you existence, consciousness, bliss right now? He says that's what you are. If that's what you are, then what about this life? You have a body, you have a mind, you have presence in society. What about this life? He says this life was given to you by God. Offer it back to God. What belongs to God, offer it back to God. Offer it back to God means service to everybody. What God would want you to do. And third, ahankar na ho. Don't bring ego back again. What ego does is again link yourself back to this body and mind. So be careful that you don't become egotistic. Just these 3. More I read Vedanta, more I feel he has packed everything into these 3 statements. But to understand the first statement itself requires a solid grounding in Vedanta. And to realize it requires a lifetime of sadhana.
Basically, कहा जाता है कि हम कर्ता हम हैं. मुझे मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि वास्तविकता में कर्ता हम स्वयं हैं, हाँ. कि कर्ता प्रकृति है या कर्ता ईश्वर है.
Right.
और इसमें इन तीनों में आनंद कहाँ है?
Right. Again, tomorrow's subject, but I'll answer to you briefly, sir, because you asked. I am the karta, I am the doer, the agent of all our activities. This is where we all start. Why do we start there? Because it seems obvious to us. I am raising this hand, I feel, yes, I am raising this hand. So whatever I do in life, I know that I am the doer. Maybe there are forces outside, within myself also, which push me this way and that way, but basically I am the doer, that's what I feel. Now philosophy comes in, Vedanta comes in and says this is wrong. It's an illusion. You are the witness, pure consciousness. In association with body and mind, there's that ego, aham. That ego is part of the mind. But consciousness gets identified with the ego and a peculiar thing called a jiva is born. Identification is, what is the connection? Actually there is no connection. According to Advaita Vedanta, the connection is ignorance, not knowing. Not knowing that I am separate. Or one Swami put it very beautifully. Chaitanya, Atma ke saath ye ahankar ka kya sambandh hai? And he said, it's one word, Bevkufi. Stupidity is the connection between of pure consciousness and this body and mind. And once you have that connection, that jiva feels, I am doing. Because then what is doing these actions? According to Sankhya, Prakriti does everything. Gita also says, Prakriti karmani kriyamanani sarvasha yapashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Nature alone does everything. And one who realizes himself in that way or herself in that way, that I am the witness of nature doing everything, he realizes that the self is not a doer. This is from Sankhya point of view. A devotional point of view, person who believes in God, in Hinduism or in other religions, in Islam or Christianity, would like to give this doership to God. And that will not come, that will come in stages. First of all, I am the doer, but I do it for you. And as it goes deeper in sadhana, one feels that I am not the doer. The Divine Mother or Narayana or Allah or Father in heaven, God alone is the doer. It's basically the same thing. Here in Sankhya it's said in a philosophical language, there it's said in a devotional language. In Advaita Vedanta, of course, the highest answer will be that there is no doing also. There is only one consciousness in which doing, action also appears. Body, mind, world, action also appears on a background of consciousness.
Swamiji, that I want to become a sannyasi, and because I like it, the concept like quote and unquote also has some criteria,
yes,
or some telos. In that sense, I just want to know liking with me what.
Liking is used in this sense, exactly in the sense which Tal Ben-Shahar mentions it. Liking, I like it. Of course, here he was asked, why are you a sannyasi? I like it. That we apply to ourselves in every walk of life. Any good and great thing that we want to do, we should do it because we like it. Now here, liking is in the sense of what Tal Ben-Shahar says, as future benefit and present happiness also. Future happiness and present happiness. I am doing something meaningful which is making me happy here. I'll give you the example which he gives. It's like a mountain climber who is climbing, and the aim is to climb to the peak. And to go to the peak, that is the goal. The rest of it is suffering, climbing up there. And there's this other person who's wandering around here and there on the mountain. That's also purposeless. There's no suffering because he's not working hard, but still going nowhere. What Tal Ben-Shahar has said so far, he says, happiness lies in enjoying the climb to the peak. You're going, you have a particular goal, and you're going there, but you enjoy the process. I didn't mention flow. The example of flow which I gave, this is one essential part of flow is you must know what you are doing. It must be a clearly defined activity with some goal. So you are doing research, you are doing brain surgery, you are playing a game. If it's an unstructured activity with no purpose, you will never get flow. And we see it in our lives. So just pleasure seeking activity with no particular goal in mind, higher goal of something which will enrich us, we will never get flow. On the other hand, just that goal and we are just struggling, you will get anxiety and worry, not flow. So a goal must be there and a purposeful directed movement towards that goal. That is liking. That is liking. Thank you very much. Okay, one question. Engagement plus meaning. Yeah. True, true. In that engagement part, if you get bored, there you can apply the understanding which is given by Csikszentmihalyi. When you are getting bored, you see, you are in this your capabilities are far beyond the challenge. So the way to get out of boredom back into flow is to increase the challenge. The mistake which we make is the moment we are bored, we go to some pleasure-seeking activity. We give up that higher activity. I'll go out and party or go and browse in the computer, do something, and stop doing that. If I'm bored with it, make the activity more interesting. That's why many people are unhappy. They have some work, finish the work, now I want to be happy. You see, the contradiction there is, I cannot be happy in that work. Somehow we have made this contradiction between work and happiness. So happiness is something left over for the time after work. And it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. And those who by some way they have found happiness in work, they get the happiness from engagement, from that E component. And if that work is meaningful also, much more happiness. Yeah.
So I have a practical question related to this structure. You said that with increasing challenge, if there's a proper increase in challenge and ability at the same time, we experience flow.
Yes.
Now, often, I mean, this is okay for a personal experience, personal engagement with something. Often in higher education or jobs, we are working in a system where, I have got teachers who increase the challenge but also are able to bring out the best in me. But often the system does not work that way. The system is very subversive. The system tries to manipulate and not allow you to work in a proper way. Now, it's a more common experience than we would like to acknowledge. So what would you say about that? It affects our state of being every day.
And I know that it happens in many places, in corporations and in academic institutes also. But those who value high performance from the people in the institute or in the company, they are realizing this. And one of the ways of bringing out high performance in the workers or in the students or in the faculty, high performance with satisfaction. High performance without satisfaction will ultimately degrade. So they have understood this, that you build up the faculty or the students or the workers and give them the challenge. I'll give you one example, concrete example from the corporate world. There are companies nowadays, car manufacturers, one of the engineers told me, car manufacturers, they actually do not manufacture the car. They put together the components which are manufactured by ancillaries, by suppliers. And the suppliers have to bid against each other to give the best product at the lowest cost. It's a normal system. Now what Toyota has done is, it seems that they have a beautiful system where they will train up the supplier. See, we want high quality and low price, and we'll teach you how to do it. You submit your bids. Now, if you become our supplier, we will take you into confidence. We will increase. We are very challenging customers, but we will increase your ability to come up to the standard. Now, at a corporate level, they are going to give flow to the suppliers. You understand? So, an institute or a company can do that. I have heard of certain companies which restructure their work environments to make it both challenging and fun and help the employees to come up to that level. Training programs are supposed to do that. Okay, let's wrap it up. Thank you. Thank you very much.